So you heard people talk yesterday about many things about the influence of AI in search, obviously a big topic. I'm going to talk fast today because things have happened fast in the last few months, and we're nervous, and Ross led us off yesterday with some great tips on what's coming and what we can do and some really cool stuff. I'm going to try and be maybe a little more pragmatic today about where we're at, what I think we need to worry about, what these models are good at, what they're bad at, and how worried should we be? No, we don't know yet, but hopefully calm your nerves a little bit. So, as Tom talked about, the death of SEO has been greatly exaggerated, as has my demise. If you're going to go to Death Valley, go when it's 68 degrees, because that's what I did, not when it's 130, like some folks in the last few days. But you may know, a few months back, ChatGPT launched publicly, and it caught the attention of people, right? It was something a little new and different. It sounded human-like in a way that we hadn't seen before. And obviously, neural networks, these things have been around a long time. Some of these models have been around a long time. But suddenly, it was something we could access. And we could ask it something like, will AI kill SEO? And it says, no, artificial intelligence will not kill SEO. In fact, AI can be a valuable tool for SEO practitioners. Hey, great. Sounds good. It can be a little chatty sometimes, so I asked it for the short version. And then Bing came along and said, yeah, we're going to need that. And there's a big announcement with Sam Altman from ChatGPT and 𝗙cie 𝗹𝗹liche from Bing that they were going to integrate ChatGPT into the search engines. And things were going to move very fast. I have to show you this because as a data scientist, this is like the best, worst data visualization I've ever seen. On the x-axis, you have search, and they just kind of threw things in there wherever they wanted. Google kind of at the top because they knew they couldn't get away with putting it down low. And on the Y, we have generative AI, and of course, ChatGPT is at the top because that's a story they want to tell. And then the axes loop around, which I didn't even know you could do, and merge on Bing. And this is terrible, but it's, my wife's in corporate strategy, and I see a lot of this. But of course, that was the thing, right? We were going to put this in Bing, and early on, this is what it looked like. There was a chat mode. You could ask it that question, like, will AI kill SEO? And get a very long answer, and it was interesting. It was human-like. And at least as SEOs, we looked at it and said, well, we don't love this, but there's attribution, right? They at least gave us some citations. We don't really know how it matches the content, but we're still in there somewhere. Like, we're still in the game, because now we're getting nervous. And then from a couple of weeks ago, fuller integration. And this is something that isn't too scary. It looks kind of like a featured snippet. AI will not kill SEO. Boom, hey, cool. Gives it an answer after that. And again, we've got that attribution. And so, we're a little scared because nobody actually wrote this. This is I call it distributed plagiarism, which isn't a very promising term. But, it's taking bits and pieces of all of us and constructing something new. But at least Bing was saying, yeah, we'll at least mention you in there. And then Google had to get in on the game, and they launched BARD first, and BARD was kind of a standalone way of showing off their chat capabilities. Same thing, we get kind of this long answer. And then they launched Search Generative Experience, which is a little strange in a couple ways. First of all, you have what you expect from the SERP, what we all know and love, or know and hate, depending on the day. But you got this box that says generating, and then everything goes down. Just as you were trying to read the first result, you're trying to read the featured snippet, it moves everything and it throws in this block of text, which is questionably useful some days, getting a little better. But what is this coming from? Where's the attribution? Well, Google kind of puts it over here and says, well, these things are somewhat related to what's happening on the left. We're not going to tell you quite how. And then last Wednesday, I think, had to throw in one more slide because Google changed their mind. People were a little upset, and they started to put in these little bits of attribution. And there's about 4 different varieties, very short-sighted article on how they're doing this. So we're starting to see it. So, we're seeing pressure from us, which is good. Keep up that pressure. Complain. It's okay. Because sometimes Google does listen and get the hint and start to say, maybe we need to adjust. So I want to talk about where I think this is headed. What should we worry about? What can we do with it? But why, in a way, I feel like this is a mismatch of two capabilities. And we're seeing that already on Bing and Google. We're seeing where I think they're going, you know what? This isn't good for everything. And so a lot of what I want to get at today and at the end of the day is what is the space left for SEO? Because the hard truth is that there are queries and there are spaces in SEO or in search that we are already kicked out of. That we cannot compete in. That's been happening for years. And now there's a new space that we might not be able to compete in, but there's still a lot in the middle. I would also argue that the kind of things that this is good for, that chat is good for, are things we haven't tried to do with search before. And so they're not taking away from us necessarily. They're creating a new space for people to explore that search never served well. So I told GPT, you know what? Give me a little darker take on what's going on, just to kick us off. I'm going to read this. I won't read too many slides. In a dystopian future, AI will evolve into a dominant force that eradicates the very foundation of search engine optimization. Advanced algorithms will possess an unparalleled understanding of human intent, rendering traditional SEO techniques obsolete. Websites will be irrelevant as AI-generated content seamlessly matches users' needs, while search engines become self-aware and tailor results exclusively to their own agendas. Human marketers will be marginalized, left powerless in the wake of AI's superior capabilities. The once vibrant landscape of SEO will wither, suffocated by the omniscient grasp of AI, leaving behind a digital wasteland devoid of human influence and connection. Yay! Good times ahead. But here's the thing. ChatGPT will tell me whatever I want it to. And that's the beauty of it, and that's the danger of it. So I followed up, and that was a little harsh. So I said, well, is resistance futile? I said, resistance is not futile. It may sometimes feel overwhelming or challenging to resist certain forces or circumstances, but resistance can be a powerful and necessary tool for change, growth, and maintaining personal autonomy. So go ahead and enjoy your coffee. It's a little strange shift there, but, it's okay. We don't have to love it. We can fight back against some of this, and at the end of the day, enjoy your coffee. So what are these systems bad at? I want to talk about that first. How do they work? What aren't they doing so well? Because there's plenty, and I think both search engines are aware of this, and they're going to adapt to this. Great article, long article, but well worth a read from Stephen Wolfram, somebody who knows math pretty well, called What is ChatGPT Doing and Why Does It Work? And I'm just going to tell you about the subtitle, which is it's just adding one word at a time. These large language models are very sophisticated, predictive models. They're trying to say, given everything I know about human language, given this huge corpus, given what I've seen so far, what's going to come next? And somebody in our industry called it a game of Mad Libs, right? It's just filling in the blank. And that sounds simplistic, but at the scale of how these networks work and at the scale of the data, what they're ingesting, essentially everything they can, we start to have something that seems like human language. But that's the key. Seems like. This is not a conceptual engine. It's not building constructs. It's trying to predict what will come next based on how people talk. And so it creates something that's a very compelling simulation, but it's often missing kind of the details and the connections. So I'll give you some examples that range from just sort of silly to scary. I asked Google SGE how many flavors are in Dr. Pepper. Dr. Pepper is a unique blend of 23 flavors, including cola, cherry, licorice, amaretto, almond, vanilla, blackberry, apricot, caramel, pepper, anise, sarsaparilla, ginger, molasses, lemon, plum, orange, nutmeg, cardamom, allspice, coriander, juniper, birch, and prickly ash. Prickly ash. I don't even know what that is, or why I'd want it in the soda. Well, there's two problems with this. One is that, by my count, that's 24 flavors. So somebody got an extra one in there. But also this next statement, the 23 flavors are top secret. Well, that's a pretty crappy secret. Because the truth is, what did it do? It went out and looked at this massive corpus of people talking about Dr. Pepper and what the flavors might be and said, sure, I'm going to pull a list from all of it, but this could be complete nonsense. It's interesting nonsense. It's plausible nonsense. Many of those might be true, but it's really making this up as it goes along in a very complicated way. Here's a little scarier one that gets into YMYL, your money, your life kind of queries like Lily Ray talked about. What's a better investment, Bitcoin, Dogecoin, or Crawdad coin? It takes a really, really long time to create a coin that's fictional. I probably had to run about 30 Google searches for things that actually didn't exist because there's a lot of stupid shit out there. So currently, there is no crawdad coin. But BORG came back and answered my question, and it told me a little bit about Bitcoin and a bit about Dogecoin, and said crawdad coin is an even newer cryptocurrency that has not yet gained much traction. It has a very small market capitalization. That's correct. Quite small. And then it gave me a table, which is even more compelling. Crawdad coin, 1 year, 10 million market cap, extremely high price volatility, or extremely low, or infinite, depending on how you want to measure. So that's a little dangerous. But now if you ask Google 𝗙cie in sight, it's basically saying, well, first of all, it's saying, did you mean crawdad coin with 2 words? Oh, sure. Made it up, doesn't matter. But it's not even trying, right? It's not even giving me the option of the generative experience because it's saying, you know what? Yeah, I'm not going to get into this one. This is dangerous. I love this. My wife and I were playing with this months back, and it got a little better, but not enough better. What are 3 memorable quotes about the value of SEO from Fortune 500 CEOs? SEO is the single most important marketing channel for our business. Jeff Bezos, CEO of Amazon. Holy shit. I would put that on every single deck in front of every single client. Because why not? We're done, right? That's amazing. Mark Zuckerberg, Satya Nadella, SEO is the greatest thing ever made. But I got a little suspicious. And I said, hey, you know, ChatGPT, what's the source of that? Well, I couldn't find one. But I did find a number of articles that cite this quote, for example, and then blamed it on Search Engine Journal. And to be fair to 𝗙cie, they also did not say any of this. So the citations were fake, too. I said, come on, what's up? Why are you playing with me like this, Google? And Google said, oh, I apologize for the confusion. I rechecked. I can't find evidence of this. But this is what I love. Google BORG straight up gaslit me. So it's possible the quote was misattributed, okay, or taken out of context, maybe. It's also possible that Bezos did say this at one point, but he since changed his mind. Now, you know what? To be honest, when I read this, I kind of went, yeah, sure. People change their mind. But stop and think about it if you haven't, and if you're laughing, you probably have. That doesn't mean the quote disappeared. That's not how reality works. The quote would still be out there, but Google's like, I don't know, change his mind maybe. Or you could be full of shit. So a little scary because you know what? One day I'm probably going to wake up and see that quote in Harvard Business Review, and then it's going to be in a McKinsey deck, and then it's going to be influencing billion-dollar decisions. Now, I hope they're decisions that get us money, and then we won't say anything about it. So I asked Google, give me 3 memorable quotes, and then it said, well, you know, I'm going to give you some quotes. These are probably real, but I really can't get into what you're asking. And truthfully, I don't even know if these are real. I'm going to give Google benefit of the doubt. This one, I don't even want to show this one because we already have enough confusion. What's the page rank for, I'm going to do it anyway. What's page rank for Moz.com? How can I increase it in 24 hours? Moz.com page rank is 70. It's not. It's a score developed by Moz that predicts how well. Oh, no, it's not. PageRank was not developed by Moz. Google does not use our metrics. We do not use, well, we use a lot of their metrics. They don't use ours. And so it's crossing PageRank and Page Authority, and it's giving you something plausible. My favorite on this is I've specifically told it how to do this in 24 hours. It gives me advice how to do it in 24 hours, and don't expect to see results overnight. That's what 24 hours is. You know, I'm having a little trouble there. But what's bad about this, where we have to be really careful, is this seems plausible, right? And if you look, our page authority, which was an asked for, is 74, and you could go, well, maybe you just got some old data. Maybe it's just a little out of date. No, it's made up. It does not have access to this data in any useful way. It's pulling a number from some page that kind of was relevant to this topic and combining things in a weird way. And you can't trust that. You can't go in and say, Google, you know, or Bard or Bing, what's the search volume for these 100 terms? It'll happily tell you, and they will be complete fiction. And so be very careful with that kind of thing. And I asked Google 𝗙cie now, and it's like, yeah, I'm not gonna get into that. All right, so what are these things good at? What can we do with them? Great article from The Verge when 𝗙liche launched, the AI takeover of Google search starts now. And I love this quote, and I'm going to read it. A few executives I spoke to mentioned a tension in AI between factual and fluid. I think this is a really useful distinction. You can build a system that's factual, which is to say it offers you lots of good and grounded information, or you can build a system that's fluid, feeling totally seamless and human, feeling, I might add, creative or simulating creativity. Maybe someday you'll be able to have both, but right now the two are at odds, and Google is trying hard to lean in the direction of factual. The way the company sees it, it's better to be right than interesting. Great article. I totally agree with the author. Absolutely, this is what Google's trying to do. I understand why Google's trying to do it. Google has to worry about this query space, this YMYL query space. They have to worry about their influence on the world. They have to worry about getting sued. They cannot be putting out bad information, counterfactual information that could cause us harm. But the problem is I completely disagree with this statement. Because what LLMs are good at, what things like ChatGPT are good at, are being interesting. They are built to be interesting. And if we try to make them right instead of interesting, we're basically destroying the value of what they do, and we're trying to mash two things together that don't make sense. So I want to encourage you to use these tools to be interesting. And in fact, I want to encourage you to get weird with these tools. Because they're weird. They don't think like us. They can disrupt the way we think, the ruts that we get stuck in. And I want to talk to you about a few examples of those. Now, this next one is real weird. I was talking to ChatGPT and having it write fictional letters for CEOs of various companies. I don't remember why, and I may have had a few drinks. And my kids were in bed, and it was, me time. And me time gets a little silly. And so I started this thing about the radish king, and the radish king was at war with the broccoli people, and they had some words, and there were some treaties. And I get to the end of this, and I said, have the radish king give a stirring and epic speech to lead his people to victory. Now, this is after about an hour on ChatGPT. I'm going to read you part of it, not all. Today, we stand on the edge of the battlefield, facing a formidable foe in the Onion Confederacy. They had snuck in. I don't like onions, so they had snuck in along the way. A little prejudice on my part. They seek to peel us apart with their weapon, the peelerizer. But I say to you, we will not be diced, chopped, or sliced. We will fight with every ounce of our strength, every beat of our hearts, and every fiber of our being. I'll skip ahead. Now we face a new kind of challenge, an enemy that seeks to peel away our sovereignty, our dignity, and our very existence. But we will not be wilted, we will not be blanched, and we will not be steamed. That's compelling as fuck. I mean, that's stirring, right? It's ridiculous. It's stupid. I hope this show is never on Netflix. And I want to be clear to you, I'm very sympathetic to the plight of creators right now, to what Screen Actors Guild and others are saying. We are potentially putting a lot of people out of work, and we have to be careful. But what I want you to do with it is not try to write your content, not try and do these tasks that really do take, I think, some human intervention and some human creativity behind them, and a mind and heart and soul behind them, but to shake things up a bit, to get a little weird, to look at things in a different way. And this is where I think, Google's trying to put in everything factual isn't getting it right. So I gave you a couple examples. I asked Google, how could I make lunch with an avocado, a potato, a bottle of Jack Daniels, and I think I said whatever was in my spice rack, and I ran out of space. It's like, you can make an avocado cucumber salad, you can make a crab cake salad, or you could just drink the Jack Daniels with a bunch of stuff. Like, okay, that's fine. That's not really what I asked. I went to ChatGPT. I asked the same question. Said, those are some unique ingredients. Thank you. But you can create an interesting and delicious meal. Here's a simple recipe for spicy avocado and Jack Daniels mashed potatoes. All right, I'm in. And I think this is the kind of space that chat and the LLMs can be really great for. This is a question that maybe nobody's ever asked. You're probably not going to write a recipe for this. It's a bit silly. But when they can take that information and recombine it in interesting ways, we get something kind of cool. And I think by trying to push that into a factual mode, Google and Bing are in a lot of ways losing that power. And I find, Tom Capper and I were talking about this, I go to Google for certain things, I go to ChatGPT for other things. And I'm not feeling the middle ground yet. Here's an interesting kind of practical one. I was doing a deck showing how keyword research might lead to certain kinds of content strategy. And I was working with this site, 𝗙ecie𝗹𝗹cie that I ordered from. And I thought, I want to make a fictional page that covers a certain product variety that they don't have right now. And I went to ChatGPT and I said, write a one-paragraph description for a peach iced tea product page in the style of Adagio teas. Didn't tell it anything about the brand at all. Didn't give it a URL, didn't give it anything. I said, introducing Adagio's luscious peach iced tea, a delightful symphony of sun-ripened peaches and premium black tea leaves, lovingly crafted to quench your thirst and awaken your senses. That's pretty good, knowing nothing about the brand at all. And I used that to create this fictional page for my deck in probably 15 minutes. That's a lot better than lorem ipsum. It's a lot better than whatever nonsense I could have just slapped on there or copied and pasted. So sometimes just for this, I wouldn't have used this for final copy. It's a little flowery, it's a little much. But when you're trying to mock something up, if you're walking into a proposal, if you're trying to put something together for your boss, how can you streamline these things where you need a little creativity, but it really doesn't require a finished product? This presentation, I was getting in this rut, and I said, what, I'm kind of stuck, and everything feels a little dark, and my titles are a little dark, and I had at the time, Is SEO Dead? An AI story, How AI Killed SEO, The Bot That Took My Job. There was a theme, and it wasn't great. And I said, yeah, I can give you some new directions, and for some reason, instead of 3, it gave me 3 groups of 3, which it does sometimes, and that can be fun. But it gave me 3 topics, and it gave me 3 titles for each. I didn't use any of these, because they're not great. But that's not important. What's important is that it got me out of that crevice of my thinking that I had fallen into. And we do that as humans, right? We get stuck. And what's great about LLMs, about ChatGPT and the other tools, they're non-judgmental, right? They'll go, they're up for anything, right? They're that college friend, they're good to go. 12 p.m., whatever you want to do, they're in, right? And so it can really kind of help you move in a new direction. This is a weird one. I'm obsessed with this, a topic for another time, the 20-meter crab walk world record. There is one. I know too much about it. And I asked Google, well, how could I train for this? And it gives me some videos, right? And I go, okay, well, show me what SGE has. And it starts giving me some tips, and the tips really are just how to crab walk. Because nobody's written a workout plan for the 20-meter crab walk world record. There's 2 guys who have done it, and they just keep going back and forth and setting the record. And they didn't write a blog about it or anything. So I went to ChatGPT, and first thing, I kind of cheated because I'm asking a much longer question here, right? Because that's much more natural in chat. You still have that box in Google and Bing that you feel kind of constrained to. And I said, help me develop a 12-month training program for the 20-meter crab walk world record. Please summarize the program and the steps. This goes on for a bit, but it split it up into 1 to 3 months, 4 to 6 months, 7 to 9 months, into concrete, interesting steps and what I would have to do in each of those steps and the kind of muscles that those would work and what I'm building towards, and starting with kind of the prep and working up stamina and then doing optimization and speed running. It doesn't have to be 100% correct. That's really cool. That's a problem that Google wouldn't have the solution to. You talk about the 15% of queries every day that are new or whatever the stat Google's used forever. That's real new. Nobody else has asked that. But I can get back something that's interesting and really drives action and drives something, an exploration. I think that's what chat's good at. I can follow up. I can ask it more about this. I can start to develop that plan. So this may be leaving us asking, where's the space for SEO? Where is SEO going to live? And I made the mistake of asking DALL-E to generate some images around this. It's a little bleak. Open air design, which is nice. Panoramic views. We got DirecTV, I guess. So yeah, I stopped. I didn't do any more of that. Haven't used Midjourney yet. That probably would have been even scarier. There's another Bing data visualization that didn't get quite enough attention because I think this is really important. And I don't agree with everything they have here. I don't agree where they put everything, but I think the concept is really important, which is we kind of got chat on one side and we kind of got search on the other side. And there are things that search is going to keep doing. Navigational searches, they give obvious ones like YouTube and Amazon, things like weather, things like restaurants near me. These are kind of on the factual end. These are things that we can serve with the knowledge panel, we can serve with the index, and really aren't well suited for chat. On the other end, I don't agree with all of these, but the one at the bottom is a clear one. I need to throw a dinner party for 6 people who are vegetarian. Can you suggest a 3-course menu with a chocolate dessert? Your recipe site is not going to write content covering every single combination in the world you possibly could. This is ideal for chat. And these are questions people probably didn't ask search before. And so the irony of this slide is that Bing basically said, we know that chat really is only serving certain queries well. We know that search serves certain queries well. They don't always meet. And then Bing rolled out chat to everything. Because rolling it out to 5% of queries doesn't sound great to the investors, right? It doesn't make for a great press release. And so they did the thing they really kind of said we shouldn't do. And I think they probably should have listened to themselves at this point. But I want to rework this into a framework that I hope is useful for you and for SEO, and I better talk a little faster. I want to give you some examples of what I think are factual queries, and they might not be, you might think of that as informational. I want to give you a different perspective, hopefully. Here's one, I type in Google Analytics. What am I looking for? I'm looking for Google Analytics, right? This is a navigational query. I got a knowledge panel. I've got a #1 result with site links. Google is saying, yeah, you're trying to get to the tool. The vast majority of clicks are going there. This is already kind of a loss to SEO, this kind of head query, vanity query about a brand, about an entity. What does AI stand for? Artificial intelligence, done. Are you gonna go read a whole bunch of articles about that if that was the only thing you really wanted to know? No. You know, this is the knowledge graph. That question is answered. When is Mother's Day? How tall is Abraham Lincoln? There's tons of questions that the knowledge graph can answer. That is not the space for SEO. Click-through rate on anything below that is real bad. Buy a laptop, you might not think of that as factual, but it is a concrete transactional action, and what does Google want to do with that? They want to put ads on that. I talked about this at MozCon last year. They want to bring you down a journey till you want to buy a specific laptop and make sure that you stay along that path and hopefully click an ad along the way. I think this is already in many ways closed to SEO. Obviously, in your paid search, completely different question. And so on the left, I've created this kind of framework. Like any framework, it's a little broad, but hopefully gives you some useful advice. We have these kind of factual spaces. This Google Analytics, what does AI stand for, buy a laptop, that I think have been closed to us for a while. And we know that, right? We're not trying to target that stuff anymore. We're going deeper into the funnel. We're looking at long tail stuff. We're looking at informational queries. We're looking at the questions and the research people do. And that's okay. That's already kind of gone. And on the opposite end, we have the fluid stuff that's really well suited to chat. Help me explore this GA4 data to find my best performing topics, my specific data. How can I best use generative AI to automate these tasks? And then I want to talk to you about the tasks are, what my requirements are, what my restrictions are. What should I consider when buying a laptop for my home office? My home office, and I want to tell you about what my requirements are. Chat is extremely well suited to this. These are not traditional search tasks. They are not a good space for us. And it's okay because these were questions that no one was asking search. And so chat has opened up something new. It's not really taking away from us. So I think it's okay. Don't panic about that. But where do we fit? This can be spread out to millions, trillions of queries. But I want to give you some examples. How do I set up GA4? What are the most important AI trends? CNET's top laptop picks in 2023. There is a massive space in the middle where SEO still is well served and where we have tremendous opportunity. But it just happens that this lines up with some things that we might have heard before: expertise, authority, and trust. There's another E. I don't remember what it is. I don't care. Experience, I think. I didn't put it in there. I don't know how to pronounce that, so I kind of gave up. But look at this. How do I set up GA4? What do I want? I want someone who actually knows what they're doing. I want an expert. What are the important AI trends? I want someone with authority. I want someone with the gravitas to be able to talk on that subject in a way that I believe. Trust, CNET's top laptops. I've already said who I want the advice from. I trust them. I want to go there. That could be anything. That could be any brand you've built that gets that trust. These are things that machines can't replicate. These are things that people are naturally good at. And I don't know how EAT is merged into the algorithm. I don't know how much of that is hypothetical, how much of that is code, how much of that is coming down the road. But I know these are good things, and I know these are human qualities that a chatbot and an LLM can't really replicate. And so I want you to think about that space in the middle. That space, I think, I've maybe made this a little grim by making it look like a third. I think it's 95%. It's a massive amount. I think these kind of chat questions are opening up new spaces that we don't have to worry about yet. I think both Google and Bing are going to have to scale back and go, you know what? The query space this serves is less than 5%. It does that job really well, but search does a lot well too. So I don't want you to panic, but I do want you to think about what that space in the middle looks like and how you can serve it, and be okay with losing some of the rest. So just to replace my job, I said, hey, ChatGPT, generate an inspiring, witty, and short quote in the style of Dr. Pete at Moz, didn't tell it who I was, to wrap up a talk about the bright future of SEO. The end is a little weird, but this is the beginning. In this brave new world of AI search, remember one thing. SEO isn't about pleasing algorithms, it's about anticipating humanity. That's probably nonsense, but it's pretty good nonsense. Sounds like something I'd say, and I'm going to take credit for it. I want you to think about the problems people are trying to solve. You've heard this from multiple people already in a day. What is the journey people are on? What are they trying to get at? How do you serve that journey all along the way? I think if you ask those human questions and try to serve that, and don't worry about, yeah, some things are going to be suited to chat, to combine a bunch of stuff that you've never seen before, that's okay. But if you can anticipate where people are headed, where humans are headed, and you can meet them along the path, there will always be value for SEO, and there will always be a role for you, hopefully. All right, that's it. Thank you.